Hello, everyone. So glad to see you today. Good morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Kendall Bonner, and I am here to serve. And I'm so excited to have you here today as we talk about how to find and reveal motivated movers. So, as I said in the chat, please get your notepad, get all the tools ready that you need to be able to take some notes. Feel free to take screenshots of the screen, although I'm going to tell you there's a better way, but we'll get to that as we move through the content and the material today. So if you don't mind telling me where you're from, I'd love to know in the chat. This is going to be an interactive conversation, even though I cannot see you. Please leverage the chat so that I know what's going on with you. I will check in with you. I will ask questions, and the chat is how I'll be able to know that what I'm saying is making sense for you. Also, if we have time at the end, which I hope that we do, I will stick around for some Q&A. So if you have questions, please also put them in the chat and I will do my best to answer them as well. So let's start with, can you guys hear me? Can you see me okay? Can you tell me in the chat that you can see me and hear? Also, you should be able to, okay, I see thumbs up. Yay, 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 yay. All right. Someone said that chat's disabled. You should be able to chat. Oh no. Oh no, how do we fix the chat? I can see the chat. Let me see. Here, before we get started, let's save chat attendees. Oh, here we go. Boom. You should be able to chat now. Can you guys see the chat? Yay! All right. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for letting me know. I've got that fixed for you. The chat is set up for you to use. So please go ahead. Yay. Oh, good. There we go. I was like, man, the chat's been quiet. My bad. Beautiful thing. All right. We figured it out. Lovely. So good morning, everybody. Yay, yay, yay. Oh, I love an engaged chat. This means so much to me. All right, so we're going to get into the material. I hope that you enjoy the conversation today, and there's so much to learn. So buckle up. Let's get going. All right. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and let's get into this. And then my last thing is I need to open up my chat so I can see it from you guys. Okay, beautiful. All right. So thank you again for being here today. I'm genuinely honored to have your time and your attention. I genuinely do not take that lightly. I understand how valuable time is and how we only have, it's a limited resource for sure. But what I'm going to share with you guys over the next hour is something that I wish someone had handed me when I got into real estate. It took me years and honestly a lot of painful and exhausting trial and error to figure this out. And of course, hindsight being 2020, that made a big difference as well. But then God put it on my heart to write a book about this because I realized I had built my business in a way that almost no one was talking about, and I needed to change that. So here's what I want you to take from today. I want you to take away a completely different way of seeing your business, of seeing the market. This is not a new script. Don't worry. This is not some new application. It's a new lens. And once you see through it, you cannot unsee it. All right. So before we dive in, I want to ask you something. If this has ever been you or someone you know, I want you to put in one in the chat. Okay. Have you ever had a slow month in your real estate business, right? A month where you looked at your pipeline and felt that sinking feeling. If that's ever been you, that you've had a slow month or someone you know, please put a one in the chat. I just want you to know that you are in the right place, okay? So we're going to help solve that today. So beautiful. Thank you guys so much for participating. So before I show you what the solution looks like, actually, I had too many slides. Let me go back a slide. Let me start here because I want to make sure that you understand what's going on here, especially when it comes to an inconsistent pipeline. Most of us have been misdiagnosing the problem, okay? When things are slow, most agents think, I don't have enough leads, I need more followers, the market's too competitive, I need a bigger ad budget, or maybe I need a new tool or new CRM or something like that. But I want to offer you a different diagnosis today. The real problem, the one that actually explains inconsistent pipelines and exhausting hustle, is not what you think it is. It actually has more to do with your messaging and your strategy. And I'm talking to everyone right now because this is the thing. When you talk to everyone in your marketing, it means you're actually reaching no one. You're chasing attention instead of urgency, and you've been working hard, but unfortunately, probably at the wrong thing. And so here's the key to success to unlock your pipeline. Instead of being reactive and waiting for someone to raise their hand, you need a system for finding those people whose lives are already in motion. And that is what the motivated mover is a method is about, right? And it's what you're going to learn today. So before I show you what solutions look like, I want to make sure we understand why the problem exists in the first place, because I don't think agents are bad marketers or bad at their job. I think we are marketing by a set of rules that no longer apply anymore. Here's what I mean. Think about how you or your parents used to find, service providers in the past, right? Even 20 years ago, whether it's a realtor or something else, a plumber, a dentist. What do? We opened the yellow pages, for example, right? We looked under the right letter, we scanned the column, whoever had the biggest ad or the most familiar name, that's who got the call. That was the whole game. It was a visibility game, right? So, the more visible you were, the more business you got. You bought the biggest ad you could afford, you waited for the phone to ring. And for a long time, that logic applied to like everything we did. Those television commercials, radio spots, billboard signs on the highway. Those people, they just wanted eyeballs, right? And if enough people saw you, there was the belief that some percentage would call. More visibility equaled more business. That was the rule. Here's the problem, friends. That rule has changed and nobody told us. For example, if you pull up your Instagram feed today, put a 2 in the chat if you use social media, right? If you use social media right now, you know that if I were to pull up your feed, or you were to look at mine, it's completely different. Everyone's social media feed looks completely different, even though all the same information is being fed into the same place, right? If I look at my feed, it's like faith content, it's women in business. And, honestly, if I'm being honest, it's some skincare stuff because I've apparently convinced myself that I need help in that department. But I look at my husband's feed and it's something completely different. His feed looks like comedy. He's got politics on there, sports, things I could care less about, right? We're on the same platform, but our experience with the platform is completely different, right? So why is that? And thank you, Esteban, for the kindness. Because the platforms have figured out that visibility is no longer the game. Relevance is the game. Convenience is the game. That's what people want. This is why we have Instacart, right? We want relevance and convenience. Think about the last time you bought something from an ad on your phone, right? From an ad from Instagram or something like that. I want you to think about why you said yes when you purchased. I promise you it was not because you saw it 12 times. Can we agree to that? It was because in that moment, it felt like it was made for you. It spoke to something you were already thinking, already going through, probably already thinking you need. And it was relevant to your life in that moment. And it was convenient for you to say yes right then and there. Put a 10 in the chat if that has been you before. If you've bought something that just hit you and it made sense because it felt like it was speaking directly to you, right? So the new rule, because of that, is not about being more visible. The new rule is being more relevant. Now, I want you to think about your real estate marketing. Your post that says, are you thinking about buying or selling? Now is a great time. Your email that goes out to your client database that says, hey, the market is shifting, we should talk. Your content announcing your latest listing or your last closing. Who is that for? Is it for everyone? Because if it is, it means it's actually for no one. That's visibility marketing in a relevance world. It's a yellow page ad on an Instagram algorithm, my friends. The platform has evolved, but our approach has not. And that's exactly what we need to fix today. So I want you to look at the left side of this screen on the slide. Does any of this feel familiar? You post on social media, you hope somebody comments, you buy leads and chase people who aren't qualified. You can tell me yes or no in the chat if this feels familiar or not. You're cold calling, you're taught to cold call, door knock, snail mail zip codes. You're attending networking events. You're handing out business cards, hoping someone's going to call you, but no one ever does. You're basically waiting for people to raise their hand. Notice it's all focused on visibility and not relevance. Now look at the other side, right? What I call the motivated mover way, which is what I'm going to teach you today. I want you to think of this way. Number one, what if you could stop waiting and instead start watching for signals? What if you could target people whose life is already in motion and already moving? Or imagine leading with empathy as opposed to a sales pitch. And then what if you could be the agent who showed up first with relevant content and a convenient offer? I want to show you how to build that system. So put a 10 in the chat if you are here for that, right? Because here's the one sentence version I need you guys to write down right now. I want you to write this down in your notes. I don't need more leads. I need an actual strategy. One that works as a filter, right? Basically, I'm calling it a lens, a magnifying glass, if you will, for finding the right people at the right time. What I want to give you today is something no one has ever likely taught you. Instead of teaching you sales 101, let's talk strategy 101. You've been taught tactics, but not the strategy behind the tactics. And today we're going to fix that. So if I can help you understand and build a marketing strategy that is uniquely yours and creates consistency in activity and conversations, would you want it? Put a yes or no in the chat. Would you want that? Because here's the real question that's going to come after that. You say yes, but the real question is, will you actually do it? That's going to be the tougher answer and tougher question. So I want to say this up front because I believe this to my core. Every real estate transaction begins with a life event, not your marketing campaign. Now, the problem is almost never your effort. I do not believe you are lazy, right? I do not believe that you're not working hard. Most agents I know are just exhausted. They're busting their tails every single day trying to generate business, but many agents have been working hard at possibly the wrong thing. They've been working tactics without understanding or having a strategy. You've been focused on visibility and not on relevance and convenience. But when you understand that transactions follow life events, your entire approach to prospecting is going to change. You'll stop chasing and you'll start positioning. You'll stop elevator pitching and you'll actually start paying attention. And when you stop being reactive, you can start being proactive. That is strategic business development. No one talks about it like this until now. So there's two groups of people. I want you to sit for a second, right? Because you realize this. You have two groups of people in your world, people you know and people you don't know. Which group is bigger? Let me know in the chat. One for people you know and two for people you don't know yet. Right? And someone said they can't see the slides. Please refresh your screen because I think everyone else can see them. So people you don't know yet. Yes, I saw lots of twos and they're good. By far, this is your growth market, of course. Now, which one should you be prospecting to? Tell me in the chat which one you believe. See what answers you guys give me. Got some ones and twos. Yes, right. Okay. Well, the answer is both. Yes. For those of you that probably heard me say before, or you realize this about your business, the answer is both. The truth, though, is that most agents pick one or the other. Many agents are either sphere-based or they're calling strangers all day. And the reason most agents avoid doing both is because that messaging is different. Talking to your sphere versus talking to a stranger, the same script, it doesn't apply. You can't use it for both groups. The script or message you use for one typically doesn't work for the other. But what I'm going to teach you today, it will work for both groups. That is the power of this framework. So, as I said, you must prospect both groups simultaneously, and that is not optional if you want a pipeline that serves you today, tomorrow, and in the future. You must consistently be growing your pipeline. And why is that? Because what happens to your natural sphere of influence? Number one, your sphere will move out of town, so they can't use you anymore. Your sphere will also, they'll forget who you are, right? They'll forget your name and they'll call somebody else. And what's the third thing that your sphere does? Yes, not only do they disown you, but they also will go become your colleagues. They'll go get licensed themselves, right? I mean, I have had past clients become licensees. And so you constantly have to fulfill or refill your pipeline and your sphere of influence with strangers as well. So, because of that, the motivated mover method that I'm going to teach you gives you a single strategy that helps you talk to both. Because when you lead with motivation, the approach translates whether they're in your phone already or whether they're a complete stranger. So, who is a motivated mover? What does that even mean? You can write this down. A motivated mover is someone whose life circumstances are already pushing them toward a real estate transaction. Sometimes they don't even know it yet, right? But here's the thing, they often feel compelled to buy or sell as a result of their transition. And this decision isn't always optional for them. So let's get into that. I'm going to break this down with 3 words: curious, compelled, and converted. Curious. These are people that are just browsing. They're watching. There's no real reason for them to move. These are the people that talk to you about interest rates, then they disappear for 6 months, or they say things like, I'll list my home when. You know these people. The problem is they're just curious. In fact, many of them are in your database and in your pipeline and people you're calling right now. But I want you to know your job isn't to hunt the curious. The second group is compelled. Compelled people are when a life event has happened. The decision may no longer be optional for them to buy or sell to rent real estate. They are going to transact. It's just a matter of time. And a lot of times they haven't called a real estate agent yet, but they are in motion because of that motivation. And then the last group is converted. They found an agent who showed up at the right moment. So your job is to find the compelled before they become someone else's converted. So think about what this means. A converted client is someone who's already in motion, showed up in the market, and the first agent who reached them at the right moment got that transaction. Your goal is to be that agent, the one who showed up first during the transition before they became a buyer or seller in their own mind. Now, I want to say something here because I think this will be one of your biggest aha moments today. So I need you to just focus and hear me here. Buyers and sellers do not self-identify as buyers and sellers. Let me say it again for you. Buyers and sellers do not self-identify as buyers and sellers, at least not until you give them that label. And that is why your marketing is not working. When you post, hey buyers, hey sellers, look at me, let's talk, right? Some version of that, they're scrolling right past it. Again, not because they're not going to actually buy or sell real estate, but because in that moment, they're not thinking of themselves as buyers and sellers. They're thinking of themselves as a person going through a divorce, a family having a baby, or someone who just got a promotion and needs to move. You have to meet them where they are and not where you need them to be. That is the lens. So let's talk about motivation for a moment before we get into what those look like. Because I think this is something we skip over too quickly in real estate, especially those of you that have had sales training. I'll say sales training in quotes, but motivation literally means the motive to act. People take action to avoid pain or to experience a gain, right? That's it, pain or gain. But here's what I've learned. I read this book by Darren Hardy called The Compound Effect. Tell me a yes or no in the chat if you've heard of this book or you've read it, because it's a really great book. And if someone who's read it can put the name in the chat, that would be great. But there's a really good book, has nothing to do with real estate. It's just a business book. It's about just being a better at anything you do, really, book, Better at Business, etc. And it's called, again, The Compound Effect, if you want to write it down, by Darren Hardy. And from my years in this business, I have learned one truth. Pain is a stronger motivator than gain, almost always. Let me give you an example in a story. Imagine I put a plank across the floor and I offered you $100 to walk across it. It's a 4x4 plank, so it's plenty big, easy to walk on, and it's like not even, a couple of inches off the ground. Put a yes in the chat if you would walk across that plank if I gave you $100 to do it. It should be an easy yes for all of you, right? It's an easy yes. Now imagine if I take that same plank and I put it across two high-rise buildings. And I said, hey, I'll give you $100 to walk across this plank. That's going to be a completely different answer, right? No, no way, no how. But if I put someone you deeply love in that other building and it was on fire, you would walk across that plank in a heartbeat. Why is that? We've all heard of a word called willpower, right? Put a yes in the chat. You've heard of willpower. Willpower is your ability to do something, right? And people often refer to, you just need the willpower. You need the willpower. Well, I'm here to tell you, willpower is not enough. It's not going to do it for you. Because in those three examples I gave you, the willpower, the ability to do something, to get across that plank was always there. But what changed each time was the why. So what you really need, what I learned from Darren Hardy's book is called Why Power. That is what you're looking for, okay? Now, you might have why power as why you're in this real estate career, right? Why you're in this business. And maybe you're struggling because you haven't figured out your why power. You're focused on willpower when you should be focused on why power. But having said that, every client you are going to work with also has a why power. There is a reason they need to move. And your job as a motivated mover agent is to find that reason before you ever start talking transaction. The motivation is connected to some sort of life event. And that life event is connected to what I'm going to teach you about, which is the data Ds. Now, I know some of you have probably been through various forms of training programs. And I wonder if any of you have heard of LP Mama. It's LPMAMA. Let me know in the chat if you've heard of LP Mama. For those of you who haven't heard of it, LP Mama is an acronym, right? That came out of a lot of Zillow trainings. Yes, exactly. I love it. So many of you have heard of it. It came out of the training program, right? Working with buyers and sellers over the phone. And LP Mama is a acronym for location, price, motivation, agent, money, and appointment. And every time I've ever seen it taught, this is how the motivation piece goes. Are you currently renting or do you own? They answer yes or no. And then if they're renting, oh, so when does your lease end? Can you break it early? Like that's as far as it goes. That's it. And they never actually get to the motivation before they move on to asking whether they're working with another agent or not. And so we never actually find out why they needed to move. We just find out if they're technically available. Again, their willpower versus their why power, right? Oh, yes, I'll tell you what they stand for, Talisha. It is location for L, price, motivation, agent, money, and then appointment. I'm sure I have a blog or a YouTube video on LP Mama. So if you want to learn more about how to do that, you can message me privately and I'll send that to you. So back to the content. Motivation is the life event beneath the question. So it's the reason that has nothing to do with interest rates or inventory. It's the reason they were going to move, whether the market is up or down or sideways. This is what we're going after. And this is what the data Ds are built to help you find. This is why you no longer need to be having conversations where you're trying to convince or force people to work with you or things of that nature, because you're not marketing to them to their motivation. You're dealing with the curious and not the compelled. So you guys ready to find out who the compelled are? Put a one in the chat if you want to see compelled. give, give us the compelled, Kendall. Good, good, good. Yes. All right. So anybody heard of the term data Ds before you had ever met me? If you've heard of the data Ds before talking to me or hearing them from me, put a yes. And if the answer is no, put a no. But basically, these data Ds are the 14 life events that most commonly trigger real estate transactions. They fall into three categories: family and lifestyle, financial and health, career and opportunity. And before I go into them, I want to pause and read something important on this slide because it matters to me and it should matter to you. The motivated mover method, right, is built around serving consumers whose housing needs are changing. It's not intended to target, exclude, steer, or provide different service based on protected characteristics. I'm talking about fair housing compliance, my friends. It's not optional, it's foundational. Do not violate your license or get in trouble because you're not remembering what the rules are. So I just want you to keep that in mind as you implement these strategies. All right, now let's get into these data Ds. So the first category is family and lifestyle. And these are some of the most emotionally charged transactions you'll ever be a part of. Let's walk through them. Diapers. Diapers is a new baby's on the way. The family needs more space. Maybe they're looking for a different school district. They're wanting a backyard. Their urgency is real, and oftentimes their timeline is clear. Then you have diamonds. These are engagements or new marriages. These are two houses when they become one. Someone is typically moving, possibly both people. And then the next one is divorce. This is where the marital home often needs to sell. At a minimum, one person is moving out. Potentially up to 3 transactions can come from a single divorce. It's the sale of the marital home and a purchase for each person or each party. And I will tell you this, even if that first move out is a rental, most former homeowners want to and will become future homeowners again. It's just pipeline, friends. 12 months, if they don't buy today, they're going to buy 12 months from now, possibly. So you want to keep in touch with them. Next we have death. I've been through death. This is the state settlement and probate. A surviving spouse may need to right size. In my case, I had a family member, my mother passed away, and we inherited property that we didn't live in, or that I didn't live in, right? And I had to figure out what to do with it. And this is a transaction that requires immense sensitivity, my friends. And the right agent can make a profound difference in a transaction like that. Another one is downsizing. Kids graduate, they move out, the nest is empty. I'm in that stage right now too, listing my home for sale and moving out to get into something smaller. This is also for those folks who are retiring, right? These are homeowners who are often sitting on significant equity and they are ready to simplify. And then the last one on this page is diplomas. This is graduation season. We're in it right now, actually. And graduation season is also moving season. These are opportunities for new jobs, new apartments, new homes. A whole wave of transactions happens every spring and summer tied directly to this one data D. The next category, we have 2 more, is financial and health pressures. Debt is another data D. These are people who are perhaps house rich or cash strapped and ready to right size. This person is often looking for a way out that works for their financial situation. And then there's default, which is actually different than debt. This is pre-foreclosure, notice of default. This is the high urgency scenario you will encounter, or the highest urgency scenario, right? This person needs help now, and that window closes fast. In fact, I started my business with debt and default. I was a bankruptcy attorney at the time, turned real estate professional, and I did a lot of debt and default short sale listings back when I started my career. The next one is diagnoses. I also went through this one personally. My mom got sick with dementia, but basically this is when a healthcare change forces accessibility decisions or the need to be closer to family or a care facility. When I went through this personally with my mother, it was truly one of the most vulnerable moments are family faced, right? And being a trusted resource to families in those moments, I believe is actually a true honor. And then damage is another one: fire, flood, structural issues. These are simply homes that have aged beyond what the homeowner can afford to repair many times. Maybe they can't afford to replace the roof, the AC, the kitchen, and they now know they need to make a move. Category 3 is career dreams and opportunity. This is desk, which is basically job relocations. Someone just accepted a promotion that requires them to move to a new market, typically with a tight timeline. They're excited and they're terrified. You could be the agent they find first. Dreams. This is first time and first generation home buyers. Two different distinct groups, by the way, very different emotional context and backgrounds usually, but both are people stepping into home ownership for the first time, which is one of the most meaningful transactions in anyone's life. And it was probably one of the reasons why I all got into this. Then there's discretionary. These are second homes, investment properties, vacation rentals, 1031 exchanges. These are opportunity-driven buyers who are usually financially motivated and often ready to move quick. And then you have duty. That is our military relocation friends. PCS orders. These are among some of the most loyal year-round clients you can serve, and they move constantly. I don't know if you've ever worked with duty before military relocation, but I feel for those folks. They're moving every couple of years sometimes. And then the quote at the bottom of this slide, I think says it all. Someone in your phone right now is living one of these data Ds. Someone in your phone right now is living one of these data Ds. So here, take it all in, one view. Feel free to take a screenshot so you can keep this as a reference. We have 14 data Ds, 14 reasons real estate transactions happen. And the question I need you sitting with right now is, who in your database is already living one of these? Right? Who in your database? You should write that question down. And I will say this as a side note. Some people tell me there is a 15th D. I don't know if any of you can guess what it is. If you've heard me do this talk before, you probably already know. But the 15th data D that I've heard is dog. Now, I personally am not fully convinced yet, but I've had enough agents tell me they've seen people buy or sell because of their pet. So I can't completely rule it out. But you tell me what you think in the chat if you think dog should be the 15th data D. Because if you are a dog lover and you've ever turned down a home because it did not have the right yard, or maybe it didn't have a fence or something along those lines, maybe you also understand. So I'm still deciding on dog, but what I'm not deciding on though are these 14. So these are yours. Take a screenshot. You have 14 reasons why people move and why people transact in real estate. Now let's talk about how to find them. Would you guys like to understand how to find them? I want to see a yes or no in the explanation. Yes. Okay, good. So I'm going to tell you this by starting with my own story. When I started in real estate in 2011, I was swimming in blue ocean and I didn't even know it. I had my first 2 listings within 30 days. I had my first closing within 90 days, which this was during a short sale market. So deals were typically taking 6 to 18 months. So that was kind of unheard of for at that time. But my niche, like I said earlier, was debt and default. And I was working with people in pre-foreclosure and bankruptcy, people who needed short sales. And the attorneys and trustees who served them were referring business to me constantly. That is what I consider to be blue ocean. It was low to no competition, trust was transferred, and it was repeatable and consistent business. But then something happened, something changed. Someone got in my ear and they said, Kendall, if you want to sell more real estate, you need to hire a coach, right? And I had heard about and hired Mike Ferry. Now, if you know anything about Mike Ferry, you know what kind of coaching he does and what he teaches you to do. He teaches cold calling expired and for sale by owners. He taught door knocking, or he teaches door knocking, mailing zip codes. But here's the thing. Now, suddenly, I was swimming in red ocean, doing exactly what everybody else was doing. So look at the red ocean side of the slide there, right? Those are your portal leads, your online leads, your generic Facebook ads, cold calls, door knocking, right? Open house fish bowls. All of those things are high competition, they're low conversion, and truth be told, it's exhausting, right? Give me a one in the chat if you agree with the red ocean and how competitive it is and on that side of the slide, right? Like this is where everyone is fishing, and this is what everyone teaches. This is what all the coaches are teaching, all the trainers, everyone. But now I want you to look at the blue ocean. Blue ocean is a different kind of work, but a different kind of result. These are trusted referrals now. You're listening for life event signals. You're building strategic relationships. You're being relevant and convenient for the customer. That is where the motivated movers live. That's what this method is about. And that is where you want to be fishing. So would you like to know where you can find these motivated movers? Yes, I think you do, right? I want to teach you guys now how to fish, right? A lot of people want to give you fish. I want to teach you how to fish because that will last a lifetime. Because when it comes to finding motivated movers, you do not have to wait for them. You position yourself where life is already happening. I'm going to show you 3 places where signals live and 4 sources of motivated movers. So be sure, take notes, take screenshots, write this down though. Don't just take a screenshot and do nothing with it. Write it down as well. The first place that signals live is in public data, right? County probate filings, pre-foreclosure records, notice of default filings, divorce court filings, tax delinquency list, they all live online. A lot of these are free and low cost. I know, for example, in Florida, they're publicly accessible, but you will need to check your own state to see what's available and how. In fact, there's very simple prompting. You can give your AI, like literally I have a 1-sentence prompt I give to AI and it tells me verbatim, step by step, how to pull this content and where to even go to get it. Very simple, right? And in fact, speaking of AI, I asked ChatGPT once to tell me how many babies are born, how many people die, how many divorces are filed, and how many foreclosure notices were recorded in Tampa Bay every single day. Here's what it came back with. 100 babies were born, 95 deaths, 20 divorces were filed, and 10 foreclosure notices were filed per day on average. So I want you to think about this. If I was prospecting to people with growing space needs, right? Like diapers, for example, and I converted just 1% of them in a month, right? So that's 100 new babies born times 30 days. That's 3,000 new babies, right? Let's take that times 1%. 1%. 1%, do you know what 1% of 3,000 is? That's 30 transactions a month just from diapers. Sit with that for a second, right? Sit with that for a second. Most agents and teams are converting online leads at 3 to 5% a month, right? That's bonkers. How many of you would love to just close 3 transactions a month or more, much less 30? I mean, I should see some yeses and me's and all of that stuff, right? Oh, Sharon's asking what are desk again? That's job relocation. That's all that one is. It's job relocation. All right. So yes, we should all want to be closing at least 2 to 3 transactions a month. So I want you to understand this. Niching down does not mean getting less opportunity. It actually will increase your opportunity, not decrease it. So the second place that you'll see signals is digital and social media, right? So people are broadcasting their transitions every single day, and you're probably scrolling right past them. For example, people are posting their LinkedIn job changes, their Facebook life events, like I'm married, having a baby, single again, or in a relationship. They're posting on Instagram pregnancy photos and engagement photos. There's all kinds of broadcasts happening every day, even in the form of questions, where they are telling you that a transition is happening or about to happen. You just have to start listening. And then the third place, speaking of listening, it's conversational signals. Your own conversations with people in your life are filled with these signals if you know what to listen for. When someone says to you, oh, the last one's graduating this year, looks like we're going to be empty nesters, or my dad or mom is sick and my other parents worried about how they're going to manage their care. Or if someone says to you, our company got bought out, I might be transferred next year. Or worse yet, when someone says to you, yeah, things are changing for us, I'm not sure if we're going to make it. Any mention, notice, I should say, there was no mention of a transaction in any of those statements, but each of those statements represented a signal of a transition that's coming. So the habit that I want you to pick up that sits at the bottom of the slide is one I want you to adopt immediately. You should set up a note on your phone to track these signals, right? Every time you hear one of those, someone say something that signifies a transition, log it, and then review it every Monday and let that be the beginning of your pipeline growth, right? That is your pipeline in making. So now I want to talk to you about some sources, right, of motivated movers, where you can find them. Number one, the obvious source is your sphere of influence, right? This is not a one-time source. Your sphere is living data Ds every single day. What you need to do is just organize them, right? You also need to pay attention to the life events happening in each of their households, right? Know this: 10% of 200 people, which the average sphere size is about 200, 10% is 20 potential movers per year in your sphere alone. That's what the data says. So that's really important. If you're not closing at least 20 or 10% of your sphere, you're missing something there. Source number two is strategic partnerships. This was the game changer for me. This is where I built my blue ocean. I made friends with attorneys, trustees, financial planners, and they would refer me all their clients, right? And the power of a strategic partner does this. It causes a trust transfer. You should write that down. Where am I receiving trust transfer? So when someone you have relationship with refers a client to you, that client arrives with a level of trust for you or with you that's already been established. You do not have to earn it from zero. So think about who already serves your Data D group, right? Is it a family and divorce law attorney for divorce? Is it HR relocation coordinators and corporate contacts for desk? Is it senior care advisors for diagnoses and downsizing? Financial planners for debt and discretionary? OBGYNs and pediatricians for diapers? Again, these folks aren't there to share medical information with you or anything that they're specifically being hired for, but really just to work as referral partners who can introduce you to their community. Let me remind you, one great partner who refers you consistently can fill your pipeline better than 6 months of cold outreach ever could. So source number three is public data list. This is the data we just talked about. Probate filings, pre-foreclosure records, divorce records, absentee owner list, tax delinquency. I've said that before. These are often free or low cost lists that you can get. You can also leverage tools like Trust Scout, so all one word, or Revaluate, also one word. They can help you find and organize these leads as well. Almost no one uses these lists though, which means the competition in these pools is incredibly low, right? Because you're meeting the consumer so early in their transition that no one yet is talking to them about the transaction yet. And then source number four, external networks. Join groups, spaces where your Data Ds congregate, right? Parent groups, professional organizations, estate sales, senior care centers, right? Volunteering at different things, support organizations. But just remember, when you show up to these groups, show up consistently, lead with value, not your business card, right? And be the resource before you're ever their agent. Focus on the transition, not the transaction. Okay. Next one is another important piece here, because this is where most agents lose a deal they never knew they had. You find a motivated mover, someone who's in the middle of a life event or transition, and the agent leads with the transaction. They're like, hey, have you thought about selling yet? Now's a great time to buy. The person in the middle of a divorce or a grieving parent or family member or someone stressed about a relocation timeline, you can't talk to them about commission rates and market conditions. They're not ready yet. They're not interested. That's not relevant to them yet, nor is that convenient. Where the motivated mover marketing works, it's basically the message, it matches the moment. So the goal is not to blast generic real estate content at everyone. Like, I want to encourage you guys to stop doing that. The goal is to recognize when someone's housing needs may be changing and offer them something useful, something timely, something genuinely helpful. And a lot of times that has nothing to do with real estate. So there's a critical note in this slide again about fair housing, because it's so important. I do not want you to miss it, nor do I want you to make a mistake. But just so you understand, alignment on this does not mean calling out protected characteristics, making assumptions, or creating marketing that suggests preference, limitation, or exclusion. Speak to the life event, speak to the transition, not the person's identity, especially as it relates to housing. So now I want you to write this down. Focus on the transition, not the transaction. The transition opens conversations, and conversations build relationships. And relationships are what stack your pipeline. The transaction isn't the goal, the relationship is. Also, I imagine you've probably heard of commission breath. What most of you have, though, is transaction breath, meaning all you look for and talk about is a transaction. Stop it. Just stop. You say you're a relationship-based agent, but all you focus on is your next transaction. I learned something from my mentor and coach, John Chaplak, years ago that has shaped how I approach every relationship. He said, so many of us are asking for withdrawals from an empty bank account. We're trying to take withdrawals from an empty bank account. And what he meant is this: when you reach out to someone in the middle of a life transition, and the first thing you do is pitch them on listing their home or working with you as a buyer's agent, you're asking them to give you something before you've given them anything. You have not made any deposits in the relationship bank account. You've not earned the ask yet. So before you receive, you have to give. Find out where they are, offer something that's genuinely valuable to them in that moment, and let that open the door. That is how trust is built. And trust is the only currency that actually converts in this business. So here's the framework for how to complete the message to moment match, okay? It starts with the life event or the transition. You need to be thinking about what happened in their world, right? Ask yourself, what's happening in their world? What's their emotional state? How do they feel about that right now? What practically do they need, right? What do they need to happen right now? And then what is your message? You need to speak to all of that, not your resume. And so the 4-part outreach approach that I want you to write down and take with you is: lead with them, not you. Acknowledge their specific situation. Offer something genuinely useful, right? And then give one clear, low pressure next step. Always with the next step. Don't forget the next step. That is an important piece to this. That is it. But that is the whole approach. That's the formula. Lead with them, acknowledge their moment, give them something useful, make it easy for them to take the next step. Again, remember, I'm going to remind you again, because my favorite phrase, focus on the transition, not the transaction, because it's the most important sentence in this entire presentation, right? Focus on the transition, not the transaction. Because if you want the transaction, you have to earn their trust through the transition first. Would you guys like to see an example of what I'm talking about here in the framework? Put a 1 in the chat or a yes, one of those, so I can see that you guys are still with me. We're still keeping you interested and engaged. Good, good, good. I needed to see that and hear that. Thank you. Love it. Love, love, love it. So here's an example, Robert. Robert has gone through a sad experience. He lost his mother a few weeks ago. He's been named executor of her estate. The house she owned for 34 years is a part of that estate, and he has no idea what to do with it. What's his emotional state? He's grieving, he's overwhelmed, he's probably slightly ashamed because he can't focus on practical decisions yet, and he's also worried about making a mistake that could harm the family. So what's his practical need? He really just needs someone to explain some options clearly to him, but without the pressure, without rushing him. Someone who understands this is more complicated for him than a normal sale. So I want you to look at the message. It opens with him, not with someone's credentials, acknowledges the emotional weight before mentioning anything even practical yet at this point. And it offers something useful, a guide, if you will, right? Before asking for anything. And then the next step is gentle enough that a grieving person doesn't feel cornered or pressured or sold to. This is that message to moment alignment or match that I was talking about. This is this in action. And it's a difference between an agent who gets the call or gets the opportunity to build relationship versus someone who gets ignored, right? Or doesn't get the opportunity at all. So I have some more examples of that. I'll show you where you can find those at the end of the call here. So look at the left side of this slide. A lot of you are posting stuff like this, very generic messaging, right? Thinking about selling, now's a great time to buy, interest rates are changing, right? Just listed, just sold, stuff like that. But every real estate agent in your market is posting just like that, especially you, right? Like we all do it. And these messages, though, get scrolled right past because they speak to no one in particular. Versus if you look at the right side, more specific conversations are being started, right? So for growing households, you need more space. Here's 5 questions to ask before your next move or choosing a neighborhood. For separating households, right? You've got going through a major life transition. Here's what your home options look like without the pressure. For military relocation, you could say something like PCS orders just came in. Here's a step-by-step guide for military families navigating relocation. Or you could say military service members. For first-time and first-generation homebuyers, ready to stop renting? Here's exactly what your first 90 days as a homeowner looks like. Feel the difference? These messages, some messages get scrolled past and some stop the scroll because now when someone reads it, they think, that's me. I can relate to that. That is specific messaging that stops the scroll, and it should be part of your content strategy. If it wasn't before, it better be now. So your social media feed is also super important. Many of you spend all of your time on your social media broadcasting, and you're not listening, right? Your social media is not just a broadcasting platform. It's also a life event feed, something that you should be watching for signals in. And, you know, because so many agents spend so much time broadcasting about themselves, they completely stop listening, right? Are you that person that posts and ghosts? I know I've been that person. Like I just post, get it out there, and then I get off social because I don't have time to spend scrolling. That's what I've told myself. But the business is in the scroll for you, as opposed to the business is in the posting. So what are you scrolling for? Or what are you listening for? You're listening for life event updates on Facebook, local group questions, job and relationship changes, estate sale announcements. On LinkedIn, you're seeing job changes and promotions and relocations and businesses launching. Instagram, you're seeing engagement and pregnancy announcements, moving day posts, you know, stories about big decisions are happening every single day on social media. People are broadcasting their transitions every single day. Your job starting today is to stop scrolling past them and start paying attention. When someone in your network posts an announcement like pregnancy or something, that's a diaper signal, right? When someone posts about a new job in another city, that's a desk signal. When someone posts asking for a contractor recommendations, that might be a damage signal. Here's the beauty of this though now. You now have the lens that you can use to grow your relationships, grow your connections, and establish trust with someone long before the transaction shows up. Not all transitions lead to transactions, but all transactions start with the transition. Be there during the transition, and you're more likely to be the first in line for the transaction. That's the blue ocean territory. So here's your action plan. Before I walk you through this, I just want to say one thing first. Before you add anything new to your business, think about what needs to come off your plate. Most of us are paying for tools we're not using and running strategies that stopped working 6 months ago. You can't improve what you're not paying attention to, and you cannot build something new while you're still drowning in what's not working. So before you take action on any of this, do a quick audit. What can you subtract? What are you doing that's not producing results? I need you to create space for what you're about to build because you cannot scale chaos. And then here's my tip for the order of operations before building anything new. I want you to hear this because agents skip steps constantly and then wonder why nothing sticks. So layer one is just getting consistent. You have to do the same things over and over. You cannot skip this, my friends. You cannot jump to being good at something before you have shown up for it repeatedly. Success is built on pattern and repetition. Layer number two is proficient. Once you get consistent, you can start to get good at something, right? Skill follows repetition. You cannot get good here without building consistency first. And then layer number three is efficiency. This is always my goal, right? Maximum output with minimum wasted effort. That's my goal. It's probably yours too, but it only follows the first two layers. Every new strategy you implement starts at consistent, not efficient. You cannot skip steps. So here's your action plan. I'm going to give you 5 steps. Number 1, pick 3 data Ds. Choose 3 life event niches that you can relate to, that you have experience with, or you're genuinely excited to serve. Think about your own life, right? Divorce, diagnoses, relocation. What have you been through personally? What makes you passionate? The more specific you are, the better. Specificity wins. And then step 2, map where they show up. Are they online or offline? What groups do they belong to? What events do they attend? What vendors already serve them? Who are the strategic partners you could be building relationships with right now? That's what you need to be thinking about here. And then step 3, create niche messaging. Write 3 pieces of content, 1 per data D, that speaks to their exact moment, their fear, their next step. Use that message to moment match framework. And don't forget, lead with them, not you. Step 4, build your system. How do you find them? How do you connect with them, consult them, nurture them, and then deliver on your promises? Make sure you document this process. If it's not in writing, it doesn't exist, right? You can't improve what you cannot see. And then step 5, be consistent first. Consistency, then proficiency, then efficiency, in that order every single time. So I want you to remember this. It's not a lead, it's a life in motion. Motivated movers are out there right now. Their lives are already leading to a move. Your job is to show up first with the right message at the right moment. That is what you've learned today. And now I want to talk to you about what happens next. How many of you I have a question for the chat, right? How many of you were like, this was good. No one's ever talked to me like this before. If that's you, say me in the chat. If this felt like a good investment of your time today, that would just make me so happy. Yay. Yes, 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 yes. That's awesome. I love it. Because my goal is to make sure you walk away with a new lens, right? If you will. And it looks like my mission was accomplished today. So before we go to Q&A, I just want to spend a couple of minutes on something that I've seen over and over, and I know where the loop goes. All right. So if you can give me a few more minutes, I would appreciate it because I know we're right at the hour. But I want to focus on breaking the loop for you and your for your business right now, right? And your marketing insanity loop. You came here for strategy, not insanity, my friends, correct? Is that a yes? You came here for a strategy? Because here's what I've learned about trainings like this. You feel good right now. The ideas are clicking. You're thinking about people in your database who are living these data Ds today. And that should feel good. And I want you to hold on to that. But I also know that 48 hours from now, most people are back in their inbox, back into the transactions. And this sits as a screenshot on your phone or replay in your email. And not because you don't care, right? But just because other urgent things have taken your attention. And that's how you get stuck back into your insanity loop. It happens all the time. So I want to give you 3 paths forward so that you can choose the one that's right for where you are. So now comes a time where I'm going to ask you to make a decision, right? And no decision is still a decision. In fact, it's a decision to stay in your current insanity loop if you do nothing at all. But please tell me you're ready to break the loop. A 10 in the chat if you're ready. If you're like, I'm done playing small. If you're ready for consistency in your business, if your pipeline, your bank account, if you want bank account consistency, if you put a 10 in the chat, that tells me that you want more. And I'm proud of you. You want more for yourself, you want more for your family, you want more for your future. And you did not get into real estate to sit on the struggle bus. You got into real estate to create exponential opportunity. Am I right? You wanted to build a life of your dreams. You wanted to build something smart, not hard. So let's move away from the hustle, move towards precision right now, because surgeons don't hustle, they're precise. High achievers don't focus on struggle, they focus on strategy. So I want to give you your 3 paths forward, right? Because there's 3 types of agents in the room right now. The first one hears a new idea and goes, they're going to close a session, open their CRM, and start tagging people by data D before dinner. And if that's you, I believe in you. I genuinely do, and I honor you for that. The second one, you know that you need more than what you got today. And again, not because today wasn't good enough. It was because you know yourself, right? You know that without a system in your hands, without something that you come back to, without a reference point, things fade. And you like to have a blueprint. I can't even speak. Blueprint. And then the third person, you know that for you, it's not about information. It's about accountability. It's about being in a room with people doing the same work, having someone push them through when they stall, or building this thing for real, right? None of these are wrong. They're just different. So here's what I want you to think about. Path 1, take what you learned today and go do it, right? You have the framework, you know the data Ds, you know the difference between being curious and compelled, and you know what signal-based selling looks like now. You now can craft a message that matches the moment and take that advantage and go with it. If you're a self-starter, go, right? Just go take action. But path number 2 is the book, right? So for some of you that didn't know, I wrote a book about all of this. And so if you're that kind of person who learns by reading, who wants a full blueprint, who knows that having something in your hands to come back to is how you actually implement, the book is your next step. The Motivated Mover is available on Amazon right now, paperback, hardcover, and digital. And it covers everything we talked about today in depth and in detail, and more detail, I should say, than what we could go over today in this hour. That talks about the data Ds, the frameworks, the system, the action steps. And if you're a Kindle Unlimited member, you can start tonight for free, right? Scan the QR code right now, search for the Motivated Mover on Amazon. That book at $20 for the paperback could be the biggest return on investment you've ever made in your life, right? And that's my hope. But then there's path 3. This is what you came for. This is what I've built that I think is actually really, really special. This is for those of you who are finally ready to build a business. Because you didn't get into real estate to have another job, did you? You wanted freedom. You want control of your time. You want to make money consistently though, right? And you're ready to get out of the insanity loop that most real estate agents live in. So I built the Motivated Mover community as a strategic environment where we can implement this method together, step by step, with accountability, surrounded by other agents doing the same work. So we'll drop a link in the chat to join the community. But I want you to know that you'll get coached in this community, not on just the how, but the what. How do you, organize your database? How do you, build, or I'm sorry, you'll get coached on the how and not just the what, but like, so how do you build a message for someone who knows, is going through divorce? How do you approach strategic partnerships with attorneys? These are the questions that we'll talk about and answer in the community. In the community, we already have playbooks, step-by-step guides, we have explainer videos, and also, of course, there's Q&A. So you have questions, I'm going to give you answers. And there's something I feel that's really powerful about being in a room with agents who are working the same strategy. When you see someone in the community land that listing or that buyer from a strategy from the book, it reminds you how possible this is for you, right? Also, notice this. If couple things. I know it says on here that members pay $39 a month, but for those of you that are on this call right now, if you sign up today, you get in for life at $29 a month. It's not getting any cheaper, friends. It's not getting any cheaper. It is only going to get more pricey from here, but you can lock it in today at $29 a month. You also get to join for free for 7 days. So get in there for 7 days. Go check it out. And I'll explain to you how, because I do have some things that you can unlock as you grow, because that matters to me. I want you to take step by step, right? Can't skip to the end, can't skip to efficiencies, my friend, right? But try it free for 7 days. There's no obligation. Come check it out. Get some value. And then you can make an informed decision about whether you're actually ready to implement this into your business or not. And the reason why I say this is because some of you, I feel like you're living in a prison of your own making right now. Why is that? Because your business is running you. In fact, it's running you ragged, you're exhausted, you're frustrated, you're tired of doing the same thing over and over and not getting the results you want. I know that that's not fun. Real estate might not be fun for you right now. And more importantly, it might not be financially viable to keep going that way if nothing changes. It's not what you signed up for when you got your license and when you hung your license with your broker. And I want to give you some truth serum that many of you may not be ready to hear, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Because it means accept something you haven't been willing to accept. You cannot keep blaming the market for where your business is at right now. You cannot keep blaming the market. The problem isn't the market. The problem is you're swimming in red ocean. It's time to move away from doing it like everybody else does, where it's super competitive, where it's exhausting, where it's bloody and murky waters, right? And it's time to find your blue ocean, where you can engage with motivated, qualified, and loyal customers, where you can stop chasing today business because you have a full 18-month pipeline at all times. This is where, when you have strategy and systems to help you manage, you can maintain that consistent community of clients who want your expertise. This becomes a place now where you stop chasing them and they start seeking you. That's the power of this strategy. I want you to stop taking a back seat in your own business. Today becomes an opportunity for you to change your mindset, to change your outlook, to change your business. But really, more importantly, I know real estate can change your life. And hear this, I'm not responsible for changing your life. You are. You have the power. You've just been looking at it without the right lens. Right now, you see all the chum in the water, but those aren't fish. That's just bait. It's meant to trap you, meant to hook you into that business insanity loop. But in the motivated mover community, my friends, I want you to be free, right? I want you to have freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of energy to invest how you see fit. And that starts with running a profitable business. So like I said, that's not a market condition, because the power to change that completely rests in your hands. Fish are swimming in blue ocean right now. There are data Ds everywhere. So it's time, right? I want you to stop being a minnow among the sharks. So here's the thing. If you decide to join the community, I want you to own that decision. That means you need to be willing, right? Come in there with some willpower, of course, and some Y power. I want you to be willing to try new things. I want you to be willing to get out of your comfort zone. You have to be willing to be patient, and you have to be willing to build consistency. Because remember, nothing works when nothing changes. So don't expect to run right away. Start by just holding your head up, just rolling over, right? Scooting on your knees, crawling. Then we stand, then we walk, and then we run. You can have what you want. You just have to follow a process to get there. So I want you to stop looking for the easy button and stop looking for shortcuts. That's not what this is, right? Stop chasing shiny objects that are meant to, quote, make everything easier. I don't promise you easy. What I do commit to, though, is helping you build a strategy that when implemented consistently, it drives results. No one is telling you to abandon everything, though, that you've been doing and go only in on this. That's not what this is. But this community will help you with transitioning into this process and into the strategy. I want to help you add, and I want to help you subtract. And the community is here to help you document and deploy. So I'm ready to help you. The question is, are you? Are you ready to build something? And if that's you, I'd love to see you type "I'm ready" in the chat. I know some of you on this call are already in the group, but if you are ready to go forward, scan the QR code, click the link, start by introducing yourself inside. I'm excited for you, and I'm excited for this industry because no agent gets left behind when they have a consistent pipeline. So let's go build yours. All right. So with that being said, yay, I'm glad to see some of you have already joined and you're in. If you guys have even a few more minutes, as soon as I close out this webinar, I will meet you in the community and I'll give you a tour around and show you what's in there and how you can get access to things and how we can continue to stay connected and grow, right? So if there's any questions, you can ask me in the chat. If you had a question earlier and I didn't get to answer it, you can throw it in the chat right now. I'm happy to answer these questions for you. I'll take a couple of minutes. And then for those of you that are in the community, come meet me in the community and I will give you a quick tour around. So, oh yeah, John Gabriel, are there any public data lists for diapers? Not that I'm aware of, but you should ask ChatGPT. or your large language model, right? I can't think of one, but I do know that there's lists that you can buy for diapers because I actually have access to one. So thank you guys for being here. Trust Scout, I believe, is a tool that can identify diapers, by the way. And so thank you, Jeanette. Great webinar. Oh, yes. Thank you. I love all the I'm readies. I'm so proud of you guys. Are there any other questions before I let you guys go? Is the book on Audible? The book is not on Audible yet. That's a different publishing process than print and digital. So my goal is to have Audible done by the end of the year. But let me say this to you. Even if you try to listen to it, which I know people learn from hearing, my son is that way. You're still not going to want to treat this book like a book you could read in the car while you're on your way somewhere, right? Like this is a book you want to sit down with. It's like an instruction manual. Those of you that have the book, maybe, and you've started reading it, you can say something in the chat here to Loretta, but it is one of those books that's going to say each chapter is going to give you some action items and things to do. And so you want to just make sure you stay engaged with it. I'm a very tactical person. I believe in inspiration and motivation and all of that, but yes, it's also very instructional. Yeah. Thank you, Shanda. So I'd love for you to get the book. I think if you could get the book and join the community, I think that's the best one to punch. I think it's a worthy investment. Just like you learned something today, there's even more in the book and even more in the community. For example, I have some psychological briefs on your data Ds so that you can really get into their mind and understand them. I have playbooks in there for how to connect with some of the data Ds. My goal is within the next month or two, I'll have all 14 kind of mapped out for you. It just takes me a little time to build those. But that's the kind of content we're going to have inside of the community, is like documents and pieces that you can pull down and start to like just actually learn and put in the work, right? And actually do the business. I even have some stuff around conversation starters for the different data Ds, some lead magnet ideas for the different data Ds. So if you're looking for content like that and you want to be able to, and actually I could stop sharing my screen here. If you want to be able to do more of that, then the community is going to be a great place for you to come. So with that being said, thank you so much for being on this call. And if you thought this was a worthy investment of time, I'd love for you to tell someone else about it, right? Tell them about the book, tell them about this webinar, send them the link to the webinar, because every time I reschedule these, I'll use the same link so that people can come back to it. If you feel you want to watch it again, if you're in the community, I post the replays in there as well. But I truly hate seeing real estate professionals struggle. I am the poster child for how real estate has changed a life. Like it has total, I mean, just to put in perspective, my friends, I am speaking at a real estate conference in Portugal at the end of this month. I'm a keynote. I'm like one of their featured keynotes in Portugal. That's crazy and amazing. And it's only because this industry and this business opens so many doors for me. So I want to see your life change. I want to see your business grow. I want to see you have the life that you imagined and that you wanted to have when you decided to get into real estate. And I believe the only way that can happen is if you understand how to build a consistent pipeline, take some of the stress off, take some of the pressure off, and it allows you to live according to the lifestyle you want to live. So with that being said, for those of you that have joined the community, I will go over there right now. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you found today worth your time, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future. Send me a DM on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Always appreciate all of you. Have an amazing day, and I hope you sell lots of houses. I'm praying for each and every one of you, and I want to see you win. So, and feel free to share your wins with me. I love to hear that. So send them to me, send me emails, send me DMs. It's all good. I love it, and I will read and watch it all. All right. Take care. Have a great one. Bye.